The Anglican Church is at a crossroads. Much has unfolded over the past decade, and these changes have created concern, confusion, and even uncertainty amongst parishioners and church leaders around the world. In all of this, it's become abundantly clear that there is a structural and theological realignment that's taking place within the Anglican Church, and it's impacting the Church at every level, from individual parishes and dioceses to the Anglican Church of Canada and to the worldwide Anglican Communion. The purpose of our discussion today is to talk about what has happened within the Church from a historical point of view as well as a theological and structural point of view. We need to understand these events so that we can have informed discussions and make wise decisions as St. John Shaughnessy moves forward. There is much at stake, but the status quo can simply not continue. Those at every level of the Anglican Church will be called upon to make a decision, and we must all be prepared to do so. My name is Susan Martinook, and over the course of this discussion, I'll be chatting with the Reverend David Short, Rector of St. John Shaughnessy here in Vancouver. I'll also be chatting with noted author and theologian, Dr. James Packer. Our first conversation this morning is with David Short. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
There's a lot going on in the St. John's and in the Anglican Church in general right now. What is going on today? It's been discussed that St. John's is at a crossroads right now, and in fact the entire Anglican Church stands at a crossroads. So what's that crossroads? What is the crisis point today?
It's a little like an undersea earthquake has happened offshore, and the earthquake is high on the Richter scale, and you don't see immediate results from the earthquake until sometime later when a tsunami wave washes onto shore with devastating effect. And I think that's an excellent way of picturing what's happened in the Anglican Communion. Decisions and actions have been taken by first the Diocese of New Westminster, then by the American Church, the Episcopal Church, and now nationally by the Canadian Church, which are like an undersea earthquake. And the tsunami wave is swept all around the world. And the global communion has reacted by saying that the decisions and actions are moving a completely different direction than the historic Christian faith would move. And therefore they're calling upon faithful believers in North America, Canada and the United States to seek higher ground.
So what's the genesis of the earthquake, or what exactly is the earthquake?
Well, in 2002, the Diocese of New Westminster voted to bless same-sex unions. And over the last 5 years, as the global church has met to consider this crisis in the communion, there have been repeated statements calling for the diocese and for the Canadian church and for the American church to turn back from its direction. It might be helpful for me to give some background to try and give a picture of what this looks like in the global communion. Can I do that?
Sure, go ahead.
I have this trusty drawing board here, and the Anglican Communion is a global body made up of 38 interdependent provinces, national churches.
And so a province is a national church. Canada then would be one province?
Right. The United States is a province.
Okay.
Kenya is a province. England is a province. New Zealand is a province. And the global communion is, as it were, 38 ships that are all chained together in the historic faith that we have received in the Scriptures, that's expressed in the creeds and in the formularies of the Anglican Church. And we are a flotilla of 38 ships sailing towards, let's say, England. And what has happened is that since 2002, two of the independent provinces have decided that we are going to sail in a different direction. We're going to sail, let's say, Australia. And so the chain that binds all these provinces together is being stretched and stretched and stretched. And these ships are saying, we're calling for these two provinces, one of which is Canada and one of which is the USA. They're calling on them to turn back and to come with them in the same direction that historically the Church has been heading in. In 2003, the primates, and I'll explain what a primate is in just a minute, the primates said that if Canada and the United States continue, that they will have torn the fabric, they will have broken these chains. And the chains are stretching so much now that many of these provinces have said, we're going to have to cut the chains and allow those two provinces to go their own way. The polite Anglican language to speak about that is to walk apart.
If I may just ask a question, what is it exactly that is taking Canada and the United States outside of the global communion?
Right. It's the decisions and actions of the different synods, not just to bless same-sex unions, but that issue, which is the tip of the iceberg, which perhaps I can come to in a minute, those decisions have, the rest of the Church has said, we want you to come back, we want you to turn away from that direction, which is the opposite of the direction that the rest of us are heading. The difficulty for us, you see, is that there are many of us in Canada and in the United States that don't want to go to Australia, even though Australia...
It's a great place to be.
It's a great place to go.
A great place to be from.
We believe that the direction set for us in the Scriptures and in the historic Church is the right direction, and that God has not changed his mind on this or on any other issue. And we want to be part of this global communion. We want to continue sailing in this direction. Now, what's happening now is that there are a number of groups of Orthodox believers in Canada and in the United States that are being forced out of their provinces, out of Canada and of the United States. And the other provinces are coming along and saying, you belong to us. And they are building links and building chains with them and saying, we will take you with us. It's a little bit like a rescue operation, if you will. And it's unprecedented. And never before in the history of the Anglican Church have two provinces sought to move away from theologically and in terms of their understanding of the gospel, have sought to move away from the rest of the communion. And never before has there been a rescue operation mounted for those who want to continue in the same direction with the rest of the Church.